Kenya, Kenya, Kenya taifa letu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya nchi yetu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya taifa letu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya nchi yetu. Kenya ni nchi nzuri kushinda zote, barani hata pwani kwa vutia kote, mashamba hata mbugani kunono kote, twaweza kutumia pahali popote. Kenya, Kenya, Kenya taifa letu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya nchi yetu.
Ni katiba ya Afrika yetu hii ya Kenya, ni katiba ya kuendesha kazi yetu ya serikali ikiwa na madaraka.
1st June 1963 was a sign of hope. Hope that was birthed by bloodshed, agony, and even death. Those were the days of unrests, tears, fears, and pain. Cracking of gunshots and explosion of bombs was the only language communicated between the Mau Mau and the British colonialists. This is Back in Time, and I am Marion Munyao.
Harambee! Na mashamba yetu harambee! Na mifugo yetu harambee!
Despite the fact that the Mau Mau struggled in order to ensure that Kenya has gained independence from the white man, it is true to say that this day is more often than not given divided attention.
Kwangu inamaanisha ni uhuru kwa wale ambao wako navyo.
I think it's a good thing they did. It's an act of courage and yeah, I think walifanya kitu poa.
Mimi Madaraka Day naona ni siku poa. At least wase upata off kiasi.
It's a chance for us to remember how we fought for independence and finally got part of it, and in the end, in the long run, we got our full independence.
It's just the politics all around, yeah, because the meaning of Madaraka Day at this day and age has basically diminished.
Never realize if it's Madaraka Day, and it's my dad's birthday, so yeah, I celebrate my dad's birthday.
The millennials seem to be preoccupied with internet and social media, hence overlooking the roots of this red letter day to Kenya. But this is not the case for the 73-year-old Dr. Naomi Bogwa, whose high levels of regards to this annual holiday is always on the rise.
Madaraka Day to me is actually a great day to me because it gave us a hope for getting independence. But it was a hope because it was not full independence. That's when Kenya attained what we call internal self-government. Internal self-government. That means they were given some power, but not all the power.
Just like the English saying goes, Rome was not built in a day. The road to self-internal governance was neither an overnight occurrence. The struggle for independence was marked with 4 main stages represented by series of years.
There were many, I think, events, many stages in the struggle. The first stage was maybe from 1920 to 1939. That is before the Second World War. Then there was the war, when now all our associations were banned in 1939. So the Africans were not active during the war. Then between 1945 and 1952, that was the second one, when now the African nationalists were reorganizing themselves. They were getting ready to fight again. Then from 1952 to 1960, that's when now there was a lot of violence, a lot of armed struggle, which were, at the same time, there were some people who were pursuing the struggle without violence. Then I can say now from 1960 to 1963, that's when there were now new negotiations. Now the British were ready to negotiate. Then 1963, we started, now the Madaraka Day came. There were elections in May 1963, and there were two major parties, KANU and KADU. KANU won the elections, and there were they were given power to start now the government. And that's when now, 1st June, Kenyatta became the Prime Minister.
Being 7 years old, Dr. Naomi Bogwa could not understand what was happening, but indeed felt the intense pressure of the fight.
I was like 7 years old, 7 or 8 years old when it started. But I could experience, I could actually feel the force. Because there were these people who were going to the forest, and some of them were our relatives. And I remember one day, they came and he told Mom, around 1953, they were coming, they loved Mom, my mother, so they came to say goodbye. I still remember them, even buying her a nice headscarf to say goodbye because they were going to the forest to fight.
She vividly recalls her 1952 experience when the state of emergency was declared. Due to the 6 p.m. curfew, her and her mother had no option than to endure the irritating mosquito bites that resulted from walking through the bush from their marketplace to their home one evening.
People were afraid. Remember, the emergency was declared in 1952. You were not supposed to walk or to be seen around after 6 p.m. And I remember one day I went to the market with my mother, but we got late. We could not follow the road. We had to go through the bush in case we were arrested. If you are seen walking, you are arrested and taken to detention. Because the British government wanted us to be secure, those who are not in the fight, they would round us up and put us in one place. And I remember one time they put us in somebody's place who had a big compound. And we were sleeping together, so many people, on the banana leaves, dry banana leaves, without any blankets.
The Mau Mau fighters gave a deaf ear to the English saying, "If you cannot beat them, join them." Despite the fact that the British had more powerful weapons than those of the Africans, the freedom fighters did all they could in order to be armed.
They were not powerful. Sometimes, some you could put on one bullet at a time, because they were not sophisticated. But those which had been stolen or taken from some of the stores in Nairobi, they were almost like those of the Europeans. But the homemade ones were not as powerful. And therefore, if you are fighting with someone with the European guns, then of course, you are likely to be defeated. Yeah, you couldn't win. But they were good, especially if you attacked people unawares. You know, they used to ambush people. Then they were useful.
Homemade guns was the way to go for them.
Most of them had homemade guns. There was a factory near Thika town where they used to manufacture the homemade guns. So they were supplied with those. And since these people had gone to war, they knew everything about the gun. That's why they were able to do so. They were able to imitate that real gun and make the homemade one. Yes, and actually I saw one homemade gun myself. I saw it with one of the brothers of my father when they were going to the forest.
False promises that led to bitterness was one of the reasons that sparked up the fight.
You know, these people were very bitter. They were very bitter after the Second World War. Why they were bitter? The colonial government had made a lot of promises to them. That if you go and when they were recruiting them, they were recruited and they were told, if you are loyal to us, when we come back, we are going to give you rewards. We are going to put you in the government. We will reward you with the pieces of land. But when they came, nothing. Nothing. Actually, some of them would say that I felt so bitter that I felt like cutting them into pieces. You know, they were bitter because the promise was not honored.
The fight was started by fighting groups, example, the 40 group, that comprised of a majority of Kikuyus among other tribes like the Akamba, Ameru, and those from the Rift Valley region who spread this message of war to their communities.
It was started by people who are in Nairobi. For example, The fight was started by people. They even met in Nairobi. The one we call the Forte group. They started there. And there were other people from other communities among them. Yeah, the Forte, they were not all Kikuyus. There were others who were among them. And they must have spread the idea to their, especially the Akamba, the Meru, and the other, and in the Rift Valley. There were very many from the Rift Valley. And Rift Valley consists of many communities. So the idea spread, was able to spread that way. Yeah, the Rift Valley was very much involved. Yeah, and the Ukabani. And it spread even up to the coast.
Loyalty was of importance so as to take part in the fight. This was symbolized through oath-taking in order to give no room for betrayal.
They wanted the people to be loyal to the cause. Yeah, they had a cause, isn't it? And they felt that this cause was very important, and it cannot be won by people just negotiating. They had to use physical fight. And therefore, what they did, some of them, in order to show a sign of board, we call it a board, there were two things. One of them, of course, was taking oath. You take an oath and you swear that you are going to be loyal, you are not going to betray.
The thought of sucking your own blood is frightening. Better yet, that of sucking your friend's blood is even more frightening, but not to the freedom fighters.
You prick your, each other's fingers, and then you suck that blood to say that we are boarded. But there is also, sometimes a goat would be slaughtered and there was a mixture. A mixture, you would taste that mixture. To swear that you are going to be loyal to this organization and the ideals that they were after.
Dreadlocks was a common trend amongst the freedom fighters. However, it was not a requirement but a hairstyle that emerged naturally as the Mau Mau stayed in the forest for so long without combing their hair.
Most of them grew because of because of the environment that they were in. They were not in their houses. So normally it was not a requirement, but every recruit must look like that. But those who went to the forest, they stayed there for long. Imagine from some would be there like 52, 53, 54, 55. They are not combing their hair, and they automatically those dreadlocks grew. In fact, women played a very great role in supporting these people, and in many ways. For example, provision. They are there in the forest. Women normally would not be suspected when they are walking around. They would carry food to them. And there was a way they had arranged where to put the food. That is one way. Another way, sometimes, they were not staying in the forest throughout. They were also coming to attack the Europeans. Okay? And so, the women were good spies. They would tell them where they are likely to get the enemy. Of course, the enemy was there. They were the Europeans. So, and nobody would suspect the women again.
In 1952, a mass detention occurred. A sweep that carried hundreds and hundreds of people, both the innocent and the suspects. Those who fell victim of this were taken to Manyani, a detention camp that was located on Mombasa Road.
There were various people who were arrested. Even people who were in the party, like Ikau, they were also arrested. Like you remember the Kapeguria 6, they were arrested and taken to Kapeguria. But there were also these people who were arrested who were associated with the Mau Mau. And they were taken, there were some detention camps that were built for them. Especially some of the detention camps were mostly in a place near, on the way to Mombasa. It was called Manyani.
The lucky ones escaped and reached home to tell the tale of the misery they underwent in the camp.
Some of them came back, and they were the ones who were telling the story, of how mistreated they were.
Their counterparts kept on enduring the pain of being beaten while hanged upside down, not to mention the congestion that was present in the camps until they kicked the bucket.
They were treated in a sometimes you would even be hung from the ceiling and you are beaten when you are hanging upside down. So they were really missed. Then of course, the comfort. There were, of course, so many people were put together in a room, and they were not provided with all the facilities. It was not good. It was bad. And many died there, actually. They couldn't bear the stress.
Land alienation, racial discrimination, forced labor, and the urge of independence topped the grievances of the Mau Mau that led to the physical fight.
Most of their land was taken away, okay? They had the cultural issues because the Europeans were against the African culture. They wanted to continue with their culture, which they were proud of. The discrimination that was there was a lot of racial discrimination. The Africans were not given good jobs. Also, they were not given good education. That equality. The Europeans had their schools and they were getting very quality education. These people are not getting. The Africans were not allowed to grow cash crops like coffee. Yeah? And the Africans, of course, the forced labor. They were hard to work for the settlers with very little wages. The conditions were very hard.
The Asian media played a major role in spreading the news of Kenya attaining self-internal governance. Kenyan media was neither left behind, as Dr. Naomi Bogwa recalls the presence of vernacular newspapers that spread the message.
The Asian media was very advanced, and they would talk about what was going on. The African media was also coming up in various languages. Like I know we had a Kikuyu paper called Uhoro wa Ama.
During the first Madaraka Day, Nairobi, among other major towns, housed a lot of people who later spread the message to other parts of the country and the world at large.
There were those representatives, that time there were so many people from all over Kenya, in Nairobi, for example, and in major towns like in Mombasa. So they would spread the news that time. They would also write letters. There was a lot of writing. Very many people were educated by that time. So it was easy. It was easy. Of course, there were no telephones that you could phone there and there. But there were letters that would help. And of course, there were also radios.
Dr. Naomi Bogwa celebrated the first Madaraka Day at home, screaming and dancing as she compares the excitement to the New Year's celebration.
And that day, it is not just one community, it's all the communities in Kenya. And there was a lot of celebration. I remember that day we were at the home. Yeah, and all of us were screaming. We were screaming in the home, and actually there was a lot of noise around. Yeah, the way people scream when it is 1st January. Yeah, people were screaming like that. Because what it showed that actually we were going to get independence. There was a lot of hope. We are not going to go, there was no going back.
Security is key in the running of any institution that you have anywhere and everywhere. However, Dr. Naomi Bogwa narrates of how the gunshots that were heard left, right and center disrupted her learning experience.
We were scared because there are times we could see the airplanes on the Abadeas and dropping the bombs. So we would see an airplane fly, and then a bomb would drop. And we were not able to concentrate because we thought, these bombs, is it only there or is it coming now to where we were? We didn't understand very well that it was concentrated there in the forest.
Being in a European school, conversation about self-internal governance was not part of the classroom walls. However, Dr. Naomi Bogwa reveals her secret of sneaking from school to Kamukunji grounds just to hear the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta speak.
We were not taught, who were teaching us. They were the Europeans. Would they tell us the details of those things? No. And they were not teaching us about Madaraka, the what. But one thing, maybe we were so curious about what was going on, Kenyatta. We love to mention Kenyatta. And I remember one day we had to We had to go and listen to him. But we had to hide. To go and listen to him at the Kamukoji grounds.
Fortunately, the change of the syllabus from European to Kenyan was witnessed after 1st June 1963's event.
Immediately after independence, the curriculum had to change. Before independence, we were taught European things. The curriculum was not relevant. So we had to feature all the things that we had achieved, and that is one of them.
Every scar that we have in our lives has a story behind it. Dr. Naomi Bogwa, who is an eyewitness, narrates the most remarkable experience she had in this fight.
There were some people who were rounded up. We were living near a school which was independent. It was an independent school that was formed by an African. There were some people who were brought. You know, our home faced that school. And I saw people being marched to the field of that school, and they were lined up. All of them were shot dead. That picture is still in my mind up to date.
A decline in the measure of excitement during the celebration of Madaraka Day is among the changes emphasized by Dr. Naomi Bogwa.
Yeah, the first Madaraka days were very exciting. 1 or 2 years. In fact, I remember we had to, even in families, we had to slaughter goats during Madaraka days. And they called friends and relatives to eat the goat. But as time went on, those slaughterings started diminishing. I don't know why, but maybe also politics took the whatever. Because every time there was a Madaraka Day celebration, we were reminded how Africans shed blood. Every time, how Africans had to shed blood. And we were reminded even of those colors in the flag. The red is for blood, the green, and whatever. And there was a reminder all the time. But as time has gone, those things are not highlighted.
Given the chance to change the manner in which Madaraka Day is celebrated, Dr. Naomi Bogwa will educate Kenyans the importance of celebrating this day by reminding the people the reason for the season.
We remind our people of what we have gone through, and we have to defend that. You know, like in the US, they also struggled for independence. And every child, from the time they are young, they are reminded of the achievement that they made. I think that is what we should do. We should not take the day for other things. It should be a day when we are reminding ourselves. And you know, one thing about this struggle, people are united. Everything that was organized, all the communities were involved. Even the ones we call Kikuyu Association or whatever, there were other communities involved. So we were very united.
Indeed, if it weren't for the pain, Kenya wouldn't have gained self-internal governance as soon as it did. CTN celebrates all those who made Madaraka Day possible. This has been Back in Time, and I am Marion Munyao.